Tony, are you ready?
I am ready. Let's go.
All right, 3, 2, 1. Please join me in welcoming Tony Scullion, fat loss and high performance coach. Tony, or shall I say Coach Tony, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me, John. How's your day been, man?
Dude, my day is rocking right now, recording after recording, and I get to talk to great people like yourself. In fact, let's give it a little backstory on you and yourself and how we came upon this. Tony, I've seen a lot of your stuff on LinkedIn, and you're a motivator. You've motivated me. Some of your messaging, your workouts. When I see some of your workouts, I'm like, I got to go do another run. I got to get my butt to the, and there are days that it's tough for me to do that. But having you post that, it has motivated me to it. Let's talk about how you got to where you are today.
Well, I've been coaching for a long time, and it all came from, let's say, not fitting in the beginning, and a deep need to feel that sense of self-worth. I get bullied as a teenager, which started me into martial arts, and it started me respecting my body more. And it was one of those things that by the time I became an adult, other people had seen how I changed my life with fitness, and they actually wanted me to help them. So it wasn't my primary job. And then I've been coaching approximately 27 years. And it's a case of everywhere I go, I'm passionate about fitness, I'm passionate about nutrition, I'm passionate about mindset, and about becoming a better version of myself. And I'm not afraid of admitting all the mistakes I've made and all the bits and pieces of a journey I've been through and all the negative things, because it's brought me to the positive point I am today. And just sharing this with people, it turned into a business. After years of being an engineer and years of working in a nightclub, it became a full-time business. So it's just one of those things. I love helping people, man. I love helping people get past their own doubts, their own insecurities, and learn that they can become better. It doesn't need to be, you don't need to do what I do. You just need to better yourself. And that's all that it's about. It's becoming the best version of yourself.
Some of the things you talked about really resonate with me because you're an engineer, so you're in technology. Okay.
Yes.
I'm in technology, and working out in technology, sometimes I always feel like the person has to be a nerd, but working out has been a part of my life since I was 16. You were a bouncer, right? So you were a doorman before all of this. How did you become, and in fact, didn't you say that it was like 14 years you were in it, or how long were you a doorman?
I was a doorman for 14 years, but it was only a part-time job at the weekends. And part of the reason I got into being a doorman was from 17 years old, I left behind a life that was the party lifestyle. I still partied a bit, but in my teenage years, I grew up in an environment where there was a lot of drugs, a lot of negative sides to where it was I lived. It was a working class environment. Starting into the nightclub and security helped me to actually become a better person, to try and be a better leader, to try and understand how to communicate with people better, how to get respect. I know a lot of doormen get a bad name because they use their muscles and they use fighting to bully people. But because I had been bullied in my teenage years, that's what originally got me into martial arts. I wanted to be able to learn to communicate better. And I also had the added benefit of, as a teenager, I was never very popular with the girls. So it helped me communicate better and realize that I did have more opportunities with the ladies than I originally thought. So it helped build my confidence, which actually showed in other areas of my life, which helped me when I was coaching people. Because when I built my own confidence, it made me push myself harder. And by pushing myself harder, I learned more. And by learning more, I was able to help people at a deeper level.
So take us through the steps. You were a doorman part-time, 14 years. How did you go from there? And were there any issues during that time that you regret, and into IT? How are you into an engineer?
So let me give it the timeline so it's a bit more understandable.
Yep.
The door work, the nightclubs was like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday night.
Yep.
So this was my way of, let's say, being able to socialize, being able to earn money. So the entrepreneurial mindset, socialize, earn money, and stay away from the bulk of the partying and the nightclubs.
Yep.
During the day at 17, I started training to be an engineer, electrical, mechanical. And then I realized after a few years that wasn't for me. I got into electronics because it was an easier step up the ladder. And then eventually got into IT. So in IT, I studied my Cisco, my Microsoft, and I became various different types of engineer, infrastructure setup, and then project management. So it was an element of during that whole time, the engineering concept helped me relate with people. Because I'm a nerd. I'm a nerd in learning. I love to learn, and so I had like this black and white scenario of being a pure nerd during the day in IT and engineering, to at the weekends being in the mad clubs and dealing with whatever the clubs would bring. But also it helped me because I didn't make a lot of friends in my teenage years. It helped me find out who I truly was and not be afraid to be who I truly was and then attract more people. So it made me like focus internally on fixing problems that I had from being bullied in my teenage years. Because I had psychological problems, let's say, in the respect that you never feel like you're enough because people were always picking on me, even in the beginning with the martial arts, because I was afraid to fight back. And it was only that my brother got hurt in one incident that I fought back, and then I swore after that I will never back down. No matter how many times I get beat, I will never back down again because they are no better than me. And if I don't respect myself, then why should anybody else?
So how did you get into coaching though? How did you get in this as your career? Because
Well,
it's very, I can see the passion on LinkedIn and I can see the stuff that you're doing and how you're helping folks. But why that? Why not just stay in IT?
well, when I started doing the door work, I moved away from the environment that I was brought up in, and people seemed to change I made. Like fitness actually did change my life. Literally, it saved my life. I had friends that were ended up being heroin addicts and dying and various other things to do with drugs, and I moved away from that atmosphere. And so it was a case of people seeing that I changed my life for the better. And they wanted, in the beginning, they took the piss out of me, but then they seen that I had really started progressing forward. Because as I say, I went from the electrical engineering and the mechanical engineering into electronics and IT. So people had seen that I was climbing the ladder, bettering myself, not that I was anything special, but I was always aiming to improve. And they wanted that. They wanted that. I think it was the desire that I have to be better more than anything. It's not about me being anything special, but if I can help teach somebody how to have that willpower, that desire to get past difficulty, that alone is golden because that's all most people really need is, okay, yes, they can have your nutrition plan, your exercise plan, whatever it is. But when I can flip the switch in somebody's head to find out why they want to do what they do, then even if they're doing the wrong thing, they've more likelihood of getting a better result.
So you're talking about having the proper mindset, right?
A
I mean,
million
how
percent.
key is that?
It's paramount. Everything begins with a thought. If you believe you can't do something, you won't do it. Imagine where you focus on is where your energy goes. So if you focus on negativity, you're going to have negative. If you focus on positive, it doesn't mean you'll not have negative, but you'll surpass the negative better. You'll go past it quicker. It's like driving a car around a bend and the back wheel starts spinning. If you look towards, let's say there's a wall at the bend and there's a road out. If you keep looking at the wall, you're going to hit the wall. If you keep looking at the road out, the likelihood of you missing that wall is going to be much higher. So focus where you want, put your energy and focus where you want to go.
Okay, let's jump into as an ideal person or a client. And actually, let me take a step back. Not the ideal. I approach you, right, Tony? I want to have a better workout, right? Or I want to start working out, or I want to have some weight loss. What's the first thing you talk about? You know, do you like say, all right, get to the gym, or do you
Yeah.
dive a deep, you know?
It has to be deep, because it's all based on desire. If you haven't got a strong enough reason why, it doesn't matter what I show you, what I tell you, you're going to quit, you're going to give up. So the most important thing is finding your reason why. For me, I have an autoimmune condition, and I know, and I have several injuries. I'm 44 years old, nearly 45, and I know that if I hadn't kept myself as fit as I have throughout these years, I would probably be an alcoholic by now. I would probably, it's so many negative things. Fitness keeps me held together. It keeps my autoimmune condition at a manageable level. And as I get older, as we all do when we get older, we have certain health problems that are in our families that we're most likely going to get as well, you know? So we can't control us getting them, but if we can control our health and fitness now, we can actually maybe give ourselves a longer amount of time where we can enjoy life.
How much is it that you have to be self-aware to progress?
A massive, massive, massive amount of self-awareness. But the thing is, most people are not self-aware, and that's not a bad thing. They just need to be taught how. So it's learning what are the signals, you know. And as I've learned to meditate more and more over the years, because just like your biceps, training your mind, it takes repetition to make it stronger. It takes you learning how to be in tune with your body, to understand when you're getting symptoms of overtraining, of overstress, like when anxiety kicks in, when sleep insomnia kicks in, things like that. I suffered insomnia actually for years and years and years. And I thought then when I found out I had the autoimmune condition that was related to that. And now only in the last 3 to 4 years, I've been sleeping much, much better. And it's because I focused more on my mind and been more self-aware of like certain triggers, certain foods that triggered me at certain times. It wasn't that I couldn't eat them. It's that I could only eat them if I had my digestive system working optimal. So I had to go through periods of rebuilding my gut microbiome, you know, so little tiny jigsaw pieces as you go along start appearing, and then I become more self-aware. But what it helps me do now with clients is what I took 30 years on to learn, I can do in a matter of weeks with somebody because I've been through it. I've smashed up my spine, I've smashed up my shoulder, I've had so many injuries, I've recovered from it when doctors, you know, wanted to do surgery on my back, for example, 50-50 chance of, you know, damaging the nerve further, or, you know, whatever it might be. So I've always found a way. I'm very stubborn. I've always found a way to get past when somebody tells me I can't do something. And part of that comes from, I suppose, in my childhood when I was getting rejected by everybody. So our childhoods do this for all of us. You know, we've been conditioned to certain things through our childhood, but you can use it in a negative way or you can use it in a positive way. And that's why I talk about mindset. Even today, I made a post about trauma, all my traumas in my life, because I became aware of them. And then I did some deep work to try and focus off them. I turned them into a positive. So one of the biggest parts of that is taking responsibility for everything that happens. I either was a contributor to it or I handled whatever happened wrongly. Because obviously everything that happens is not directly our fault, but it's our fault how we react to it. And once it's in the past, we can't change it. We can only change what happens now in the hope to make our futures better.
So I tell my kids that all the time is that you can't control the other person, but you can control yourself and your actions and how you
Yes.
handle a situation. A lot of it is an immediate reaction in which if we train ourselves long enough that it will be a pause before a reaction, and then you
Yeah.
can, you know, kind of let it as take me through the process when somebody reaches out to you, right? And they want your help. What does it look like? What does the process look like? And I know everybody's end goal is different, but how do you help them through it?
Well, the main thing is some goal setting, some realistic goal setting, because there's so much misinformation out there at the minute, and everybody has their own dieting, their own medical history as well that could affect how the progress could be. For example, I've had clients lose 40 pounds in 8 weeks, but they were primed to lose that 40 pounds in 8 weeks. They were basically for example, the one person that this happened to had not done any weight training before, right? He'd only done cardio. He was highly dedicated, his perfect health otherwise, so he was able to do that. But if somebody came to me and they had been doing a lot of weight training before, their body's more conditioned, so their body will not respond just as quick. Even though you would think that somebody that's more experienced should get faster results, in a lot of ways, no. If you've been doing everything like 80 to 90% of the way it should have been done the whole time, yes, you can get quick results, but it's not going to happen as quick as, let's say, a newbie doing a similar routine, as long as they're recovering enough to support it, so it's everybody's different. The main thing is get goal setting arranged first, understand your goals, your past history, and then I give a realistic approach and say, well, look, this is what we can do if you can do this. So obviously sleep, stress and anxiety play a factor in that as well.
What about those who, working out, everybody wants those immediate results, right? And then they get discouraged. How do you coach somebody for knowing that I've been working out for years, so I know it takes a while to show results. It could take 6 months for me to show something, but if I'm dedicated to that, then I know that timeline. But for somebody getting into it and they're like, yeah, I want to see immediate results, how do you help them get past that, knowing that it's not going to happen overnight? Now for a quick interruption. A huge shout out to our friends at Veeam for sponsoring this episode. Veeam Backup for AWS can easily protect all of your Amazon EC2, RDS, and VPC data. Wait a second. They can protect my VPC data too? Yep, that's right. Simplify AWS backup and recovery while ensuring security and compliance. All right, now back to our episode. How do you help them get past that, knowing that it's not going to happen overnight?
So you measure the right things. So it might be somebody if it's weight loss and it's somebody saying, I want to lose 10 pounds this month. If we even lose 7 pounds that month, we know that they're making progress. If they lose 0 weight that month, then there's something wrong. But at least then we know that there's several data points I collect. You'd be able to go, right, is sleep intact? Is metabolic function intact? If it's meal, are your testosterone levels as they should be? Do you have any digestive problems? So being an engineer actually massively helped me with my coaching, because it's process of elimination. There's all your variables that fit in as jigsaw pieces, but each person needs those realigned depending on their current situation. So keeping somebody motivated for weight loss in that respect is, as long as they focus on measuring the right things, is much easier than somebody going for muscle building, because muscle building, especially for natural muscle builders, is much slower. So you have to then look at increases in strength, increases in performance, increases maybe time under tension could be another thing. If you, for example, weight training, instead of trying to increase a certain amount of weight every week, you could be focusing on doing the same weights, but increasing your time under tension, which could mean going from, like an example, a bicep curl, lowering 40 pounds in a curl, and it takes you 2 seconds down, 1 second up. To try and get yourself stronger, what you do is you try to lower it down to 3 seconds and have 1 second up. So you've made an improvement, but it's only like a small improvement within the workout. So those micro wins can help you understand, yes, I'm improving. If my nutrition's in line and if my recovery's in line, then there's no reason why I shouldn't be on the right path. So it's just measure the micro wins to help you move forward. The same if it's cardio, it could be, 1 more second off your time for a distance on a run, a cycle, or a swim, or, maybe you get an extra 100 meters on your run in a certain time, or, whatever it might be. It's understanding those little micro wins that are leading you towards a main long-term goal, and understanding what's really achievable as well, because there's a lot of coaches out there especially for muscle building, will tell you can build X amount of muscle per month, but that's using assisted steroids, performance enhancing drugs with people. for a natural person, those sort of things are unachievable. So it's understanding apples for apples and pears for pears.
Celebrating the wins, regardless of how they are. You should always celebrate
Yes,
it. Losing 7 versus the 10 you wanted to, but you're progressing. What
yeah.
does an engagement model look like with you for somebody? Say you wanted to coach me, right? Or actually, I wanted you to coach me on a couple of things. Are you there like every day? Can I text you? Can I drop a message? What
Yeah.
is how do we engage? Because for me, in the beginning, when I have somebody, when I've had fitness coach and trainers, in the beginning, I need a lot of hand holding because I want to ask a lot of questions. But then over time, I'm just very trailing off, and I might ask you a couple questions during the week. What does it look like?
So everybody's the same. We all are the same. And if somebody started with me and was not asking a lot of questions in those first 2 to 4 weeks, I'm actually worried. They're not dedicated enough. They're not giving it enough because I'm expecting that. So you have my personal WhatsApp. You connect with me there. I have my own app where I program your workout. I actually personalize your workout depending on your needs, your abilities, and your variations of where you can actually exercise and what you can actually do. So we will find where your baseline is, and then we will program it accordingly so that you get the maximum from it within your available time frames. And I'll be able to say to you, okay, so this week, let's say we're doing 3 sets of 8 in all exercises. Next week, it'll be 4 sets of 8. Next week will be maybe 3 sets of 10. The next week will be 4 sets of 10. So you have little goals within that to work towards. And if you're recording the weights and if you're working on your end to record the data, we coerce through the app and through WhatsApp and the app. And then we have weekly reviews as well to understand what were your biggest wins this week? What could you do better? What could I do better? Is there anything that like information that you feel you need? Because especially in those first 2 to 4 weeks, that's when you need the most hand holding. If you're not asking questions, you don't have the desire to learn. That's it.
Coach Tony, how is it working for those who are remote? Because I'm assuming that you have a lot of
This is
remote
remote.
clients. Yeah.
This
So it
is
is
this
all
is
remote, not right
all
there with
remote.
you.
Yeah.
How's it
This is
working?
all amazing, amazing. So it's when I personalize a program, if it's, for example, I had a recent client lives on a ranch, they had anxiety with doing a workout in the house, right? So of course I have to, as a coach, find a way to make right, how can I get this person to work out? They did agree to doing working out in the first few days. They weren't doing it, they were making excuses, and I had to say, look, you're procrastinating, let's be honest. No, no, I'm not. I says, yes, you are. How can we make this work? We need to make this something that you can do that's going to fit into, your daily activity. So I says, I'll tell you what we'll do. Your ranch chores. So it's just like old school caveman training. I'm a massive fan of that. I've got a park close to me that's full of tires. It's got sacks, like the Spartan bags,
Yep.
and rocks and things like that there. So I went and filmed a load of workouts, give it to them. And actually, what happened was he started doing the program that I give them, and he says, I want to do the tire flips. I have a 300-pound tire. And he fell out with me because I says, no, you're not ready. Don't do it yet. Because unless you can lift that bag, it was a 50-pound bag,
Yeah.
unless you can lift 2 of those 50-pound bags together and do this workout, you're not strong enough yet to go and do the 300-pound tire lift, and you're going to wreck your back. Plus, we've mobility issues we need to work through. And they actually were very sort of negative with me for a few days. And then after they got through the next week, they realized, actually, I'm glad you did that because I would have fucked my butt. Sorry, I would have messed up my spine.
Don't worry, we'll leave it in there and I'll check off the little box. It's full on. This what happens with the conversations. It's just natural going around. Anxiety and stress. Don't we
Yeah.
all have that? I mean, really, how do you manage that for folks?
So it's not about not having anxiety and stress. It's about how we let it affect us, and we have anxiety and stress from different things that make you feel a certain way. But again, back to the self-awareness, action beats anxiety. So let's say I did 10 sales calls. I had 10 people interested in my product and I did 10 sales call and nobody moved forward to work with me. I feel deflated. I feel, so many negative aspects. And what it could do for me for, let's just say there were half-hour slots and that happened over 5 hours and I had time left in my day to do other things, I'm going to feel negative towards doing other things in the day and my productivity is totally zapped. How do I fix it? Get out of my mind, get away from my emotions and get into my body. So I need to go and do some activity to center myself again. Then when I do the activity, it doesn't need to be a workout. It could be a walk. It could be some push-ups on the spot to get your blood flowing, to override the emotional aspect and back into, your generic thinking, right? So emotion overrules reason. So as soon as you're back into reason again, you can put things into a list, create a list for yourself to do and go and do it. The more you dwell on the emotional aspect of something, the more it's going to have a negative hold over you.
Can I ask you for some, without giving away your tips and how you're doing some things, for a personal aspect of mine, here's an issue that I'm running into, and it's only happened within the last couple of months. It's really, it's affecting my workout. So, but it's only affecting when I'm riding a bike. So I have a Peloton right outside my office and I'm on it and I'm very motivated to start. But once I'm in that motivation, all the things that it's going on that day are happening or going through my head. And I find myself not putting in the full effort into the workout. I have a heart rate monitor. It never reaches up to the yellow or red anymore. It's usually in kind of the green or blue. How can I get out of my head for my workouts to make them more meaningful? Like what is like one thing that I can do to just take me back to where I was or next level?
So, right. So your issue here is that you can't stay focused within the workout because you're overriding too much of whatever questions you have in your mind from the day. So maybe what you need to do is take your phone, ask yourself questions, record them, in the voice notes, answer the questions, and then write it down. Take it from your mind onto a bit of paper. Even if you don't answer anything properly, just sort of scribble it, try and get yourself into a frame of questions and answers. And then when you go on the bike, focus, no distractions. Like you're still going to get thoughts that drift. We all do. You're not going to remove them completely, but you need to change your targeting within your peloton then, because it's not hitting you deep enough with a desire level. It's actually boring you, I would say, because if you were getting excited about the peloton, you would be able to separate it. So you need to find something. It might not be peloton, it might be, something else, but offset the thinking, write it down on paper, journal it if you need to, ask yourself some questions, the voice notes, and then when you go on to the peloton, create a workout. I would look at doing sprints in the beginning, short and sweet. Give yourself then some wins. Remember, we talked about stacking the wins before.
Yep.
So start doing sprints, because if it's something longer, you have a chance to drift. Your heart rate is not high enough. You're not in your body properly. So it's more longer endurance. So you want to make it so it's something that requires your full attention to be your best. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. I'm going to have to give that a try because here's an issue. Very first time in a long time. Now, I typically work out like 7 days a week of something, whether it's weightlifting or just a riding the bike. And it's just me. It's been part of my life for that. Yesterday was the first day that I did not ride the bike in the morning. I had felt like I had so much work to do.
So here's what I would say on that. Exercise every day can be good, but you have to put it into rates of perceived exhaustion. So we all need recovery. Our hormones need recovery. So what this is actually a sign off that you just told me you train 7 days a week. You're depleting your hormones. Your stress levels are high. Your adrenals are probably burning out, if you're exercising every day. So there might be a nutritional fix that could help you along with this. There might be a recovery fix that could be something to do with your sleep and your mindset, maybe some meditation practice. But ultimately, what I would do is then you can't give 100% every day. And I've had points in time where I've trained 6 hours a day, right? 5-6 days a week. And some of those sessions were based on active recovery. So the heart rate had to be much lower, but it was just movement to help the body get rid of lactic acid and to help it recover. Because if you do the movement with a low enough stress level, it will help you recover better. So like a light walk or something like that. So again, you need to look at it at the 360 approach to properly give you an answer. But I would definitely say give yourself some peace for taking the day off. There's nothing wrong with taking the day off. I actually created a video recently, and it's not to be negative about this by any means, but to give a perspective why 75 hard might be the wrong approach for you if you're still doing it after 75 days. Because I spoke to several people that saying, man, 238 days of exercised every day, hard as hell. And I go, well, maybe that's going to crash on you sometime soon when you start getting injured, can't sleep properly, and then your adrenals go through the roof, then you become grumpy all the time, blah, blah, blah. That's a sure sign that you're burning yourself out. And if you do it, like it can take a long, long time to recover if you do it for too long, if you train for too long in that way and really push against your body. For example, we've had a ton of people in the world of mixed martial arts when we were training 6 hours a day that had full-on severe adrenal burnout, had to give themselves 6 months rest because it affects you psychologically massively as well. Your body stops producing dopamine and serotonin in the way it should, so it's something to be careful of.
How do you battle the mentality of not working out though? Because I'm sure you feel it where the day you don't work out, it affects you mentally. Like it's like, oh man, I'm just blah the next day. How do you tell your body that it's okay not to?
So again, that's where you would look maybe at the nutritional side and know I'm taking a break here because I'm sharpening the axe. I can't chop down any more trees with a blunt axe.
Yep.
So do I want myself to be peak performance, or do I want to stay below mediocre performance for all the effort I'm making? So it's like, would you prefer to work 40 hours a week for a certain amount of money, or prefer to work 100 hours a week for the same amount of money?
That's a good
Less
way
is
to,
more.
yeah, it's a good way to
Less
look
is
at it.
more. So if you could be more productive in those 40 hours for that money rather than have to work the 100 hours for that money, you're going to be smarter about it and go, right, do you know what? I'm going to do whatever I have to do to keep that within those 40 hours.
What about rehab? I have an injury, right? And I can't go leg, arm, your lower back. How are some of the approaches to help you not only physically, but through, mental anguish that you're like, I'm stressed that you're not able to work out? How do you get yourself to a conditioned position? What do you look at and how do you help folks achieve that?
So first of all, it's understanding what part of your training is debilitated from the injury. I prolapsed 4 discs in my spine. 90 days later, I couldn't even walk properly. Did a photo shoot, ripped to shreds. It's actually the actual logo for my program, which is called Operation Role Model. I could not bend over. I could not train my abs properly, only through static contraction, because bending aggravated the sciatic nerve and aggravated the discs. But I was able to do machines for other parts of my body, and I was able to diet, and I was able to sleep. So what we look at is the affected area, how much will it affect other, other aspects. So that was a heavy one in the spine. Recently, I've just went through recovering from an ongoing knee injury that I've had for a lot of years. I've had 2 steroid injections in it over the last 20 years. It plays up every now and again. When it plays up, I can't do any long distance running because impact is just grind, grind, grind. But funnily enough, I can still do my Thai boxing as long as I don't focus on kicking with that leg and twisting too much with it. I can do uphill sprints because the distance is or the impact's much less when you're doing an incline. So it's learning. Sometimes you can still do movements depending on what the injury is that will help strengthen it. And as long as your nutrition supports recovery and your actual sleep supports recovery, you can find a way around it. And this is what I do with clients. I've helped many, many clients with bad knee injuries after surgery as well, recondition their tendons and ligaments. There's certain exercises we would do for that. Of course, like I've had clients had no kneecaps. Back in Northern Ireland, I'll not go into why they had no kneecaps, but we were able to get them doing squats and stuff and lose a ton of weight, build up the strength and the muscles surrounding it, It's like even me with my spine 10 years on, I still don't have the discs the way they should be, but I have to keep my core and all the muscles around it strong. If I make a wrong movement and I'm not warmed up enough, I'll aggravate that again because I haven't fixed the initial problem. I've just strengthened everything up around it. And that's what you have to look at with some of your injuries. You might not be able to fix the initial problem, but you might, instead of getting 100% again, you might get 97%. But 97%, if you then focus on a higher level of training, could look like nothing's wrong with you in the future, you know? So it's just understanding how to, again, the engineering mindset, work around the problems. You know, sometimes you can't fix it 100%, but you can buffer enough around it that it does more than enough.
How has your injuries in your past shaped who you are today?
It's taught me a lot about redirection, about whenever the spine thing again, I thought my life was over as I knew it, being able to keep fit and exercise and stuff. And I took prescription drugs and stuff for 2 weeks, and I drank a lot of alcohol because I was depressed. And then a friend of mine that had been in a wheelchair who became a wheelchair athlete after losing the power in his legs from a car crash. I actually felt ashamed of myself for being so weak in my mindset. And I thought of Daryl, his name was. I thought of Daryl and I thought, you know what? Daryl didn't give up. And I seen him fall off the wheelchair when he was trying to do like the roadside wheelchair racing and stuff. And he kept picking himself up and he just kept going and going, going. And he still is to this day. And I just thought everything begins with your mindset and how much desire you have to improve. And sometimes I can be maybe a bit cheeky when people give me sort of silly little excuses. And I go, I don't even talk about myself. I'll mention somebody like Daryl and go, look, if he can do it, you can do it. You just have to find that reason to want to do it. That's it.
I think we all have that weakness every now and then, right?
We all do.
Where it
Absolutely.
creeps in. How do you get past that? Like, what's the first? Sometimes it stays with you though, right? Sometimes you're holding on to it and you want to get out of that, that negativity, that weakness, but it's just locked into you. Like I mean, there are some times where I might be stuck in it for an hour or two, which is not a bad thing, but all of a sudden I'm stuck in this negative thing. I'm stuck in this like weakness. How do I get out?
Well, sometimes the point is let yourself dwell in it. Let yourself feel as bad as you possibly can feel. Because okay, then you've hit rock bottom. The only way's up, you know? So
What's the first
sometimes,
time somebody's ever said, let yourself dwell in it, let yourself, you didn't say let yourself
yeah,
dwell in it forever. You just said, do it. Now pick it up.
yeah. So what if I threw you into a sand pit and it was what do you call it? The sand that pulls people in,
Quicksand.
quicksand. If I threw you into quicksand, how long is it? Like, even if you're not motivated, at some point you've got two choices. You either drown or you swim, essentially, right?
Yep.
And the reason I'm saying quicksand is because that's what it's like when you get depressed. It feels like you're being pulled down. I know this. I've been through it, and I still go through it from time to time. Negative things happen in my life that I can't control, and I have to bring myself back into the moment. And I go, right, I've got two decisions. I can make myself feel like absolute crap by dwelling on the negative, or I can look for a solution. There's always a way to move around it, move forward, or just deal with it and get by, because otherwise you're stuck doing nothing.
I
It's like
agree.
when COVID happened to the world. How many people turned into entrepreneurs, lost their jobs, everything else? You know, I lost a ton of clients. I was as depressed as everybody else. I went through my little depressive cycle like we all go through, and then I just went, damn it, there's bound to be another way. How much do I have to invest to learn in this and that and the other and blah, blah, blah to move me forward? I'm risking my last money to learn this. But the choice is I saved the money, and then in like 90 days or 6 months, I'm still in the place I am because I've just thought the world was going to change in favor of me without me making an effort. We are in control of our future,
Yep.
you know? And it doesn't mean that we're all going to be rich or anything like that there, but if we put enough effort in, we can improve it.
Being in control of your own future and making changes for yourself, how much of it is around the positive self-image? Everybody has a self-image. Actually, we are our own worst critics.
Yes.
How do we change that? How do we get to that positive aspect?
So everybody has hang-ups about their body. Everybody. Like even if you talk to the most ripped person in the gym, like they have so much hang-ups about their body that it's actually unhealthy for them to stay super 6% body fat or 8% body fat all the time. You know, so it's dealing with your own hang-ups. That there's always other, if you know that other people have hang-ups too, then it's like, well, if I can be open about mine and not care, like I have loads of hang-ups about my body, you know, especially as I'm getting older, certain things are happening to you, you know,
Yep.
and you know, we talk about being in control. I can control a certain amount of it, but it's more about being in control of how I think. And so that's when sometimes then you flip the perspective and you go, well, do you know what? My body's not maybe where it once was, and I can't, certain things I can't fix, but I can be the best I can be with performance. Maybe not the same as when I was 20, but if I improve and try to see, we talk about like your Peloton
Yep.
stuff, if I try to see improvements and everything all the time, it's important to have different variables within that. So if I want to improve long distance running, I don't just do long distance running 4 times a week. I have a sprint day, a middle distance day, a tempo day, and then a long distance run. So training needs to be structured, it needs to be periodized. So you have a chance to improve just your sprint time across a month. You have a chance just to improve your middle distance across a month, and then your long distance across a month. You know, you might not see the same variable of improvement in them all, but if you see it in one, then you can go and look at the others and say, well, what do I need to change there? It could be footwear, it could be hydration levels, it could be, you know, there's so many little tiny pieces that you can look into to improve. But what's happening, you're putting your focus on those variables and you're no longer focusing, even though you're focusing on improving, let's say, a weakness or becoming better, you're not dwelling on it in a negative way, let's say. It's growth, it's learning, it's improving. So it's that perspective that I believe, you know, we have to look at life. And sometimes we, of course, we do get depressed, but you have to bitch slap yourself and say, snap out of it.
I love that. Oh, Tony, you got to keep doing what you're doing. All the posts that you put on the LinkedIn are inspiring. If nobody tells you, they're inspiring to me, because there are
Thank
some
you.
days that I don't see it. I am following you. I saw your post this morning. All right. The past and everything. I saw it, you know, looked at it, and it helps me realize and be like, whatever mindset I am currently in, if it is not a positive one, or I'm not where I'm at, I look at it and I'm like, that was great, Tony. There's good inspiration. Whether it's the exact message you're looking for, it's who you are and what you're doing and accomplishing for folks. That is inspiring me to change the current mindset I might be in that's not empowering me for my future.
Absolutely, man. Well, look, we all need self-realization of what's holding us back.
Yep.
You know, and sometimes it's something very simple. For you, I would say 1 to 2 rest days a week and being comfortable with your rest day. So find something that's an activity that's not a workout, that's not going to tax you like a workout. Gamify it. Make it something that's fun away from everything else you do.
Well, I was just thinking about that. I used to have 1 or 2 days of rest in a week, but it's a hard mental strain to say not work out today, not do
Yeah.
that today. What are you doing? So I really appreciate that. Tony, where can people go to find you, to sign up, to get more information, or to even just have a conversation with you?
Either Instagram, Tony Scullion Official, or on LinkedIn, just look for my name, Tony Scullion. You'll find my website on the same name, tonyscullion.com. But if you want anybody wants a personal conversation, I think it's important to understand where you're really at, because people will think that they're totally, you know, I'm not doing very well and blah, blah, blah. When in actual fact, maybe you are, and you just need a few little tiny changes, and then that can progress you massively to the next level.
Awesome, Tony. I'm going to put those links in the description below, folks. Don't forget, reach out to him. If you're not following him on Instagram or LinkedIn, I suggest you do. Just follow and watch what he's doing and what he's talking about. He makes some really great videos. His workouts, very empowering. Some of his messaging will resonate with you. Tony, I really appreciate you joining the show. This has been inspiring to me. I hope it's been inspiring to everybody else.
Awesome, John. Thank you very much for having me. And for all the listeners, I hope you go out and make one small positive change today to focus on your mindset first and then your fitness and health.
I find it really key that it's your mindset that you have to change first and focus on before you can do anything further. And I think that's where all of us are living right now, is that mindset. Whether we hit a negative or a positive, it doesn't matter. Your mind is telling you what you can and can't do. And if you train that properly, you'll be able to do more than what you think.
1,000,000%. Yeah,
Yep.
It's all about the mind dictates everything the body does. So it's just a matter of retraining it.
No, awesome. Everybody, Tony Scullion or Coach Tony, Fat Loss and High Performance Coach. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks a lot, John. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Yep. This has been the John Myer Podcast. As always, I'm your host. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, and notify, because guess what? We're out of here.